What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're back with some more Anti-Flag. We're going to listen to a tune from their album Mobilize. You can see the artwork up here. Sort of, has that classic broken, military assault rifle, star that they've used as a logo. Again, shout out to people who are opposed to violence as a philosophical principle and in their own personal lives. I very much sympathize with that. Nevertheless, we're going to listen to a tune from the live part of the album. The first half of this has, new material, including sort of the kind of marquee song of the album 911 for Peace. This album came out right after 9/11 had happened, 2001. And I remember reading an interview, I don't know if it was with Justin Sane or, I'm not sure, I think it was Justin Sane, but he was saying that, after 9/11 happened, they were acutely aware that a band named Anti-Flag espousing sort of critical and dissident views about the nature of American foreign policy and so on would maybe not be the most popular flavor of the month, and I believe they even canceled some shows because they just didn't want to be seen as being in your face about it or disrespectful or whatever. But then I remember reading that they slowly started to do some smaller shows again and just make sure that look, these messages still needed to get out, even if as a nation we've just suffered a tragedy and so on. And so they started playing some shows, and I believe 911 for Peace was sort of a song that they played at all these shows as, again, sort of a plea that hey, we're still here, we want to be respectful, but we still have a critical eye on the way that sort of these systems of power and exploitation and destruction and violence and so on. And again, there's another really great song on here called Right to Choose. I think it fits very much, with a lot of cultural issues that are going on in the United States still, 20 years later. So yeah, just shout out to Anti-Flag for being good punk rock musicians, and at least to my mind and opinion, very good people as well. But no, we're going to listen to a song called Bring Out Your Dead. This was originally, I don't know if you can see it, I have the artwork over here, but it was from their Underground Network album on Fat Records, which I believe was 2000. I think it was, a year or so before the events in question in this album. But I do like the album version, but it is one of those examples where I think the live version, this recording, it really hits an intensity and a power that maybe exceeds the original song. And again, I think it is a general plea that look, we really need to reevaluate the way that these systems of power and exploitation have allowed one person to sort of control the lives of their employees and subsidiaries and so on, and those people have to work an entire lifetime to make what that person sitting in an office makes in a day, ultimately not even making the most admirable or wise decisions in the first place. But then also foreign policy and the way that politicians have, in some level, become fronts for corporations, whether those are defense contractors who make weapons and vehicles, some of which will never even be used, but the ones that are used are often used to engage in morally questionable encounters and military violence and so on, or whether it's a domestic company just looking for favorable tax policies or whatever. It makes the point that so many of the people in positions of power do not have the interest and welfare of normal people and everyday citizens in mind when they make these decisions that enrich themselves or control more power for them and their cronies, if you will. So again, I think it's a general plea to try to change the state of affairs into a more equitable system that might be more reasonable and more fair for much larger numbers of people. But like I said, I'm not so sure if people have taken this one in a different way. I do think the lyrics are, like I said, a bit general compared to some of their other songs, which are about more specific incidents. I was just listening to their album A New Kind of Army, and there's a song on that called Police Story, which, yes, it is about excessive police violence and the sort of menacing of local communities rather than serving and protecting them. But I do think it's about a specific incident. So sometimes I wonder whether some of Anti-Flag's lyrics, as I mentioned, they're sort of an East Coast band, and so the local punk rock scene that they came up through before sort of becoming a internationally known band, it's not familiar to me. So sometimes I just wonder if some of their lyrics might be referencing things that I'm not familiar with. But like I said, that's the way I've taken these lyrics. Let me know if you have a different opinion. But here we go. This is the live version of Bring Out Your Dead, originally from Underground Network, heard here on Mobilize. For their news, it was the protesters that screwed. I love the contrast of Chris's like hard voice and then Justin's kind of like higher, like slightly more melodic voice. I love it. And that's legit. You know, like the 14th Amendment has been used by corporations to say, well, like, my rights as a person are being infringed upon, but it's actually like the person that's the plaintiff against them will be an actual like employee who's been taken advantage of or exploited. But the corporation argues that their rights as a person are being threatened. No, we won't remain silent. Oppression, intimidation, suppression. Love it. Like I said, the version on Underground Network is great.
I saw an article in the New York Times that actually mentioned anti-flag in it, and one of the things they say is that people on college campuses are being more turned on to the military, and they're turning off of songwriters like Bob Dylan and Neil Young and anti-establishment bands like Anti-Flag.
We made the New York Times.
Well, also being referenced with like Neil Young, Bob Dylan.
One of the things I think to myself, what's so fucking wrong and what's so anti-establishment with the idea of wanting peace? Why is that so anti-establishment? Why is wanting to be told the truth anti-establishment? These aren't anti-establishment ideas. These are pro-fucking peace ideas. And that's what this song is about. A new kind of army. It's about peace. Let's do it.
We'll have to come back for that one. I apologize to give you that setup. I forgot that was like on this same track. I feel like that would maybe work better as the start of the next track, but whatever. I wasn't the one who cut the album. Nevertheless, I fully agree with what he's saying there. Like, why should the establishment necessarily be about like money into the fire defense budgets and military contracts and so on, when ultimately, and I know like the world is a dangerous place and there are governments that act in rogue ways and so on, including the US government. So ultimately, I get it. It's a real world we live in, but at the end of the day, like, merely asking for like, hey, could we maybe try to think of different ways to do things? Could we maybe be less nationalistic to the point where like we're just treating these countries like sports teams that like try to conquer each other and like whatever? Like this type of thinking and this type of national political culture, it has not done the world well. It has not done ordinary humans well. So why should just merely asking questions and desiring to find new ways of doing things, why should that be seen as so like un-American or anti-establishment? I fully agree with sort of the perplexity and the incredulity of him in asking that question. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you like that song, or let me know if you think the album version on Underground Network is better. Like I said, I am very fond of this album, and I wanted to react to a couple of the like original tunes on it, not just the live part of the album. So we'll be back to hear more from this, but let me know what you think. Let me know if there's a particular song you'd like to hear reacted to, or any other punk rock reactions. Like I said, the punk rock reactions on the second channel were one of the first things that started to actually generate some interest and some interaction. So I really appreciate the people here who have either come here here originally to see some punk rock reactions, or who have found their way over here despite finding that channel for another reason. So big shout out to all of you listening and watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Peace.